Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video tutorial we are going to speak about Cyprus Payroll. More specifically, we are going to explain what are the minimum requirements for an employer registered in Cyprus. An employer registered in Cyprus needs to pay at least the following. The first one is employer gross salaries. The second are the contributions, which are extra costs for the company. And the last one is the tax special contribution. Again, this is an extra cost for the company. If an employer wants to attract some high skills employees, he can offer some extra benefits like medical and provident fund. In this video tutorial, we are going to use an example of a company with one employee and with annual gross salary of 24,000. Therefore, with monthly gross salary of 2,000, taking into consideration that the company pays salary for 12 months. The numbers used in this example were calculated by me and will be explained in another video tutorial. Now, let's explain the minimum obligations of an employee registered in Cyprus. We are going to start from contributions. Once an employer agrees to pay a specific gross salary to an employee, then this employer needs to pay some extra costs. These costs are the contributions to the government, to the social insurance authorities. These contributions are as follows. According to the gross salary, the 7.8% needs to be paid to the social insurance authorities as social insurance. 2% needs to pay again to the social insurance authorities as social cohesion fund. 1.2% needs to be paid again to the social insurance authority, and this is related to the redundancy fund. And the last one is 0.5%, which is payable to the social insurance authorities, and this is related to the industrial trading fund. Now let's move to an extra cost. This cost is what we call tax on salaries. Tax, I mean special contributions on salaries. This extra cost needs to be paid by the employer to the tax authorities, not to the social insurance authorities. For the calculation of the total amount payable to the tax authorities, an extra video tutorial will be uploaded. Actually, the extra cost for the employer is only the half amount of the total amount payable to the tax authorities, since the other half is payable by the employee. Actually, the employer will pay the full amount, but at the same time, the employer will deduct this amount from the employee's salary. This is what we call the employer will pay on behalf of the employee's special contribution. Now let's move to the third part, how the salary will be paid. Let's assume that you do not know anything about Cyprus system and this is your first job, and at the same time you enter into an employer agreement of 2,000 per month. Because the Cyprus payroll system is not the easiest one, I will try to explain this by using two scenarios. The first scenario is not the real scenario, but I believe this scenario will explain how it works. Let's assume that there is an employer, an employee, and the two government bodies, the social insurance and the inland revenue, we call these tax authorities. And we will assume that at the end of each month, an employee who doesn't know anything about the Cyprus system expect to receive at the end of each month 2,000 euros as per the employment contract. Let's start. The employer gives to the employee the agreed amount of 2,000 euros. But from this amount, the social insurance authorities and the tax authorities want some money. The tax authorities want the tax on your salary if you earn high salary. We call this pay as you earn. The social insurance authorities want what we call social insurance of employees. And again, the tax authorities want some extra amount, what we call this special contribution. So this 2,000 euros is not your net salary, because you need to pay special contributions of 1,056. You need to pay your pay as you earn, which is €6.25 per month, and you need to pay your special contribution, which is 50.88 per month. So all these three together equals to a net salary of 1,786.87. This is your net salary. This is what I already explained is not what happened in the real world. Employer will never give you the 2,000 euros as per your employment agreement. The employer will give you always the net, and the employer will pay on behalf of you all these contributions and taxes to the government of Cyprus. Now let's move to real scenario, or scenario 2. Scenario 2. This is the real scenario. What is happening in the real world? The employer will pay you the net salary, not the 2,000, and the difference from the 2,000, he will take all them and pay these amounts to the two governments body. to social insurance authorities and to tax authorities. The amounts are exactly the same amounts as scenario 1, but the difference is that the employer will pay all of them on behalf of the employee. These three is what we call employee deductions. These three are not extra costs for the employer. These three amounts are included in the gross salary. I need to point here that the employer needs to pay some extra costs as we explained before. We're gonna see these extra costs and these employee deductions in a general analysis with all the amount together. So the deductions of the employee is the employee's social insurance, is the employee pay as you earn, and employee special contribution. Now let's summarize all the payments. The amount of €1,076.87 is payable to the employee, net salary. Net salary is part of the gross salary. The company also needs to pay the total amount of $63.38 to the tax authorities. The amount of $15.88 is the pay as you earn, and it was deducted from the employee gross salary. Therefore, this amount is part of the gross salary. The amount of $6.25 is 1/2 of the special contribution payable by the employee. This amount is deducted from the gross salary of the employee, therefore this is part of the gross salary. The other half of $6.25 is payable by the company, and this is extra cost for the company. The company also needs to pay the total amount of €386 to social authorities. The amount of 156 is payable by the company and relates to the social insurance contribution. This amount is extra cost for the company. The amount of 74 is payable by the company and relates to other contributions. Also, this is extra cost for the company. Finally, the amount of 156 is payable by the employee. This amount is deducted from employee gross salary. Therefore, this is part of the gross salary. Now let's see the accounting entries. Thank you for watching.